So, what is the true meaning of life? Now, what if I was to tell you that I actually know? And it's perfectly encapsulated by this rather artistic drawing here at the top. It is also perfectly encapsulated by this quote underneath, which I will reveal at the end of this video, and I assure you, you will agree with me completely. But first, some necessary context. Okay, so what is the true meaning of life? Okay, now if you were to ask the average person this, they would give you an answer which would fall under one of three categories. Okay, so we have money, we have mammon, we have material wealth, we have becoming rich, we have happiness, and we have greatness. Okay, so let's break these down. Let's start with greatness. Now, what does that consist of? As you can see here, that's meant to be a crown jewels. It's a bit lopsided, but we're talking someone who wants to go down in history, someone who wants to be an athlete, a great doctor, a great vet, a great lawyer. You want someone who wants to achieve greatness, okay? We're talking about someone who wants to be famous, okay, wants to be great. Now, you might be thinking, what is wrong with that? You're really criticizing someone who wants to be a great doctor, but that's not the issue. The real issue lies when you peel back their desire of being a great doctor and you see what motivates it. Because ultimately, what's motivating it is they don't want to be great for the sake of being great. They want to be great for the sake of being seen as great, okay? So in reality, they're chasing status. They are doing it for the sake of vanity, okay? They are doing it to chase validation. They're ultimately doing it for themselves, okay? So they are being selfish, right? Secondly, happiness. Well, what's wrong with that? Someone just wants to be happy. Well, the problem is happiness cannot be a goal in of itself. It is a byproduct of pursuing a goal, okay? Pursuing true meaning. So by pursuing just happiness, what actually happens is that you are pursuing a fleeting sense of pleasure, perhaps. But what gives us a fleeting sense of pleasure? Well, drugs, alcohol, instant gratifications, short form content, pornography, perhaps a new car, a new house. All of these just bring temporary pleasure, but not permanent happiness. And in fact, they more than often bite you more than they gift you in the long run. That's one way an individual may pursue happiness and not receive it. It's a false mirage. But there is also another way to falsely pursue happiness. And the more astute you may say, well, I don't indulge in instant gratification activities, or if I do, it's minimal. And I would just like to build a family. I would like to go on walks in nature. I would like to listen to classical music and not engage in highly dopaminergic activities. And I would say, well, great. Now, you may feel some degree of happiness, but ultimately there is still going to be a void in your life, a void which can only be filled by true meaning. Because even building a family, perhaps, is a beautiful thing, an absolutely beautiful thing, but it is not the sole purpose of life itself. And you, as a man, have a purpose, you have a job to fulfill. And the void neglecting that purpose cannot be filled by walks in nature or listening to classical music or even improving your health, developing as a man. None of these will truly satiate that void. It's only true meaning. And also, let's go on to the fact that happiness in itself, I want to be happy. Well, what's the key word in that sentence? I. I. I want to be happy. It's an innately selfish desire. It's all about you, or I want to be happy, which again, as we'll go into, is clearly self-serving. Now, thirdly, of course, rich. Now, this is the most common one. If I go amongst my friends, nearly all of them, the number in their bank account is the primary driver for all the actions they do. They'll do a job they hate if it means they just get this number in their bank account. So what is wrong with that? Well, there is a saying which is extremely cliche, but you have to understand there is a reason why it is cliche, and that is money doesn't buy happiness, okay? Now, we all internally know this, but we still choose to pursue money anyway. Now, you might think, why is this true? Well, this is the thing. If money bought happiness, then the richest people in the world would be the happiest people in the world. But that doesn't seem to be. You know, they're always getting divorced. And to be honest, look at Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. They look like miserable cunts, to be honest. Let's face it. And also, it's important to note, to achieve a vast amount of wealth, you must sell your soul to a degree. You cannot abide solely in truth if you want money, because if you start speaking your true opinion, that will shut off potential clients, potential employers, and you will struggle greatly to make money, because to make a lot of money you need connections, and thus money also brings out the worst in people. And as we touched upon with happiness, now I hate to break it to you, but the reality is that new car you want or the new house you get isn't going to buy you happiness, no matter how much you convince yourself. I mean, how do we know this? Well, when you're a kid, do you remember wanting a toy? Like, your birthday was coming round and you prowled through the Argos catalogue and you picked a Nerf gun you really wanted, and you were so excited to get this Nerf gun. When this Nerf gun arrived, you'd be happy forever. It would be everything you wanted, okay? So what happens? Your birthday rolls around. Guess what? Santa came even though it's your birthday. He still came though. And he gave you your Nerf gun. You're ecstatic. You're through the roof. You're so excited, right? But then what happens? The first day you play with it, it's invigorating, right? You know, you shoot the shit out of your dad. Everyone's excited. Everyone loves it. Second day, you still play with it. But, you know, you're getting a bit bored. Third day, you leave it on the floor for a bit. Your mum complains. Now, fourth day, it's in the cupboard and you never use it again. This thing that was supposed to bring you unlimited happiness has in the back of the cupboard 4 days later. Now, understand that if a Nerf gun cannot bring permanent happiness to a kid, a sports car is not going to bring permanent happiness to an adult. So it works the same way the whole way up. No matter how much you chase this mirage of materialism, it's always going to travel further away from you. It's like trying to look at a floater in your eye. You're never going to be able to quite grasp fulfillment or happiness. And what it is quite frankly, an illusion of Satan. So please do not fall for it. Now, of course, even with all three of these, now what I'm not saying is you can never pursue anything. You can never try and make money. You can never try and be happy. You can never try and be great. Of course, do all three. But what I'm saying here is these cannot be your primary drivers of existence. These cannot be what you expect to get true meaning from in life. There can be a secondary purpose, yes, but not a primary purpose. So why is this? Let's follow the logical course of action of all three of these endeavours. So what you'd end up with is an unfulfilled, unhappy, unsatiated group of three individuals, okay? Individuals, that's very important because what you have to appreciate is us as a human race, we are not individuals. We are not a group of individuals. We are a collective being, okay? We are one. So therefore, if we are one collective being, we cannot have an individual purpose. It's nonsensical, okay? So where's your evidence for this, Patrick? Well, let's look at nature, okay? Is the purpose of a zebra to eat grass or is it to feed a lion? Has an apple tree ever actually tasted an apple? No. You see, nature works synergistically. It works symbiotically. Every cell, every molecule, every element works together for one purpose, okay? And that is the betterment of nature. So you're an individual here, curious. Okay, so I see nature working in this collective. So as a human, what can I do? Well, this is what you have to understand. There is one difference between this human here and this apple tree and this zebra, is that this human has sentience. It has free will. You see, we have evil in this world, just as we have good. We have God and we have Satan, depending on how you see it. And the existence of both God and Satan means we have free will. It engenders our free will. We have the choice to choose between Satan and God. So thus, one may logically conclude that our collective purpose as a human race, given that we have sentience and free will, which the rest of nature does not have, must be to choose good over evil, to cast down Satan and choose Christ. Because as Marcus Aurelius said, nothing that becomes of nature is bad. Nothing is bad in nature. So the only time evil can grow in this world is when a human chooses Satan over God. But we have free will. So if we choose God every time, well, what's going to happen? Well, this brings us on to our collective purpose, okay? To create heaven on earth. The end goal is essentially for us to choose God enough that we cast down Satan, we defeat Satan, ultimately using our free will. Okay, this is the test. This is why we were given sentience and free will and nature was not. We have a different assignment. So how does one go about achieving this collective purpose, creating heaven on earth? Well, of course, you reject Satan and embrace God. So Satan is going to try and tempt you into sinning. You have to resist him and also pursue truth. Now, why is truth important? So we have this task of creating heaven on earth. Now, I want to give you an analogy here. So I want you to imagine extremely complex Lego kit, like a big boy Lego kit. Like we're talking age range 12 to 14 here, like, you know, not amateur stuff. So you're in this room and you've got Lego bricks everywhere. And you have a task of building this Lego kit. And you've been given it a Lego manual. Now, there is a problem with this Lego manual, and that is it has lies in it. At random intervals, you don't know when, they'll just add in bricks or remove bricks or connect pieces that shouldn't be connected. It is filled with lies. Now, are you ever going to be able to complete that very complex Lego kit? No, you're not. So if you want to construct heaven on earth, you need to know truth. You need to know the truth of this universe, of this realm. Otherwise, you are never going to know the correct course of action. Whereas obviously, if you had an instruction manual that told you the truth, it would be very difficult, but you would still have a good chance of completing said Lego kit. So what is the equivalent of the correct instruction manual for creating heaven on earth? Well, in my personal opinion, that will be the Bible, but it's down to you. You pursue truth yourself and you judge that yourself with you using your free will. Now, what is the equivalent of the lying instruction manual? Well, take your pick, mate, to be honest. It could be the education system. It could even be the NHS health website. It could be anything a politician says ever. You know, you can make your pick, mate, make your pick. Now, that might sound quite easy. Okay, so just pursue truth and resist Satan. Right, that's not too bad. Sounds quite easy. Well, there's a case study that exemplifies this perfectly. It is not, in fact, easy. So there was once a man who lived 33 years of existence on this realm. This man, in this 33 years of existence, never sinned once, not once. This man never even lied once. He was the personification of truth. Now, this man had done so much good and never sinned, never done evil. Now, surely people must have loved him. So what happened to the man in question? Well, he was publicly humiliated, tortured, and then crucified. If you're to take the account of the Shroud of Turin, this man had over 600 wounds on his body. This personification of purity, this personification of truth. And also on top of that, this man had 12 followers, 12 disciples. 11 out of 12 of these were brutally murdered as well. And they were martyred themselves. For what reason? Stating truth. So gentlemen, this is why it is said, the path to heaven feels like hell, but the path to hell feels like heaven. Understand that by pursuing truth, if you pursue it vigorously and diligently enough, you will lose everything materially, but you will also gain everything spiritually. So gentlemen, if you undertake this transition, you will go from self-serving to a servant. Okay, you are meant to be a servant of the universe. That's what we're meant to do. That is our purpose, okay? With our sentience, be a servant of the universe and choose God. Just like our comrades, the zebras and the apple trees. It's also important to note that no, this is not a retarded egg. This is actually meant to be a baby. Because it's also important to note that there is one innately selfless thing that you can do, and that is have a child. It's biologically programmed into us to be extremely selfish, to sacrifice ourselves for the sake of another being. It's divinely assigned to us to have children. This is why you should have plenty of children, because I think it's the most beautiful natural thing that you can do. I mean, a mother bear has no right to fiercely protect her cubs, yet she does regardless under divine instruction. We are the same. It's beautiful, and you're essentially a biological servant to the universe when doing so. But this is exactly why Jesus said, but many who are first will be last, and the last will be first. Because those who put themselves first will be last, but those who put themselves last will actually be first. That's what Jesus means when he says this. But alas, another punch in the gut, gentlemen, right here. Another beautiful drawing as well. Because the reality of the situation is, gentlemen, is you will not see the fruits of your creation in your lifetime. Now, just the same as a cathedral, a beautiful cathedral, I mean, that drawing's perhaps not beautiful, but a beautiful cathedral takes centuries to produce. It takes centuries to build. So with this in mind, there will have been stonemasons who, from a young buck, started working on this cathedral and knew they'd be working on it their whole life and knew they would still not see the end results. Now me, dickhead frolicking about, he gets to appreciate the beauty of their craft in its complete value, but they will never do despite labouring their whole life. They knew this, yet still decided to work on this cathedral anyway. This is why I say you need to have a cathedral mindset, because you may labour and toil your life away to create heaven on earth, yet you will never see heaven on earth because you will die before it. And you have to be okay with that. Just as a stonemason is okay with not seeing the beauty of his creation fulfilled. It's just another sacrifice the God-fearing man must take. But the punch in the stomach is followed up with a huge overhand right to the jaw. As the reality of the situation is that this world is ruled by oligarchic families who serve Satan. Understand that they have this cathedral mindset also. They've been passed down through generation and generation. You might ask, what's their purpose? Well, their purpose is the exact opposite to ours. Okay, so it's not to neglect Satan and embrace truth, but rather reject truth and embrace Satan. And in doing the exact opposite of our primary purpose on the universe, their goal is to create hell on earth, not heaven on earth. And understand this is who we are up against, gentlemen. These oligarchic families who essentially control the world. They lie unseen, and to be politically correct, they are called the Matrix. So this is our battle against those who serve Satan. But understand, those who serve Satan knowingly, who control the world, they have set the world so that many serve Satan unknowingly. So they set the world up in a way that you will serve Satan by default. So you dedicate your life to making money. Now, what did Jesus say about making money? It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter heaven. So if you primarily pursue money, got bad news for you, mate. Happiness as well. Well, as we established, chasing happiness often leads to degeneracy. It's also selfish and self-serving. And also greatness. Now, what does greatness instigate? Pride. Okay, it's about you. It's about you being great, you being seen as great. Okay, these are all cardinal sins. And this is how these mischievous little fellas have set up the world for you to fall into the arms of Satan without him even having to come to you. Okay, so this is the situation, right? There is the knowing and unknowing minions of Satan on one end of the rope. There is the God-fearing, good men who embrace truth on the other side of the rope. So what happens in this omnipresent tug of war for the universe is, if Satan grows too strong and topples over the good men of God, then they've created hell on earth. But conversely, if the men of God grow strong and overpower the minions of Satan, then they will create heaven on earth. This is the battle of the free will, which we must enter. Choose wisely, gentlemen. So this brings us on to the final quote. A society grows great when all men plant trees, the shade of which they shall never sit. That's an old Greek proverb, and as you can see, you might be able to actually understand the drawing now. There's an old man smoking his pipe, chilling nonchalantly, this beautiful society having just planted a tree. This encapsulates this so perfectly because it is ultimately completely selfless. The man has no need to plant that tree. He is never going to benefit from it at all, yet he does it anyway because it's for the good of the universe. That is how you must act. Act as a servant of the universe and reject Satan, gentlemen. I want you to imagine for a second that everyone on planet Earth adopts this mindset right here. How beautiful would the world be? How lush, how ravishing, how picturesque, how beautiful. You cannot even put it into words. Well, that is what creating heaven on earth looks like, ladies and gentlemen. Reject Satan, embrace God. That is the true meaning of life.